So once you sort of started to figure out how to dissect presets, like what was the thing that really made you feel like you were starting to accomplish, like, okay, this is stuff that I'm gonna strive to emulate these sounds. Like you go back now and you listen to that first pad and you're like pretty cringy about it, but like when did you feel like, okay, I'm starting to like, instead of like an uphill battle, I'm starting to get some momentum? What was something that precipitated that change, or what brought about that shift, feeling like, okay, now things are getting incrementally better instead of like everything's just hard?
You always want to say like where you're at is probably solid, but I know in like 5 years I'm going to look back and be like, oh, I could have done this differently because I'm going to know new stuff. But one thing is like now I know there's certain things that I know like I do to sounds. Like for instance, now I almost always would cut like a lot of the heart or like the big boomy lows out. Stuff like that I realize now that it makes like different principles on how to make the sound translate the way that I hear it in my headphones. Like if you can make that sound kind of happen at your church or over different monitors, I think it's a better picture that you've created the sound that's more it's more, I guess, universally playable. So I really like it when I have a pad and I can play it in a high range and a low range, because then I know I've designed it in a way that it's a well-rounded sound.
And we did that a lot in Sunday Keys too, like going back to sounds that we really liked. And saying like, okay, this sound is great, but where is it best on the layer, the key range? And then like, okay, what are the weakest spots? Do we want to make those available and make them better somehow, or do we want to like just maybe like even change the layer range so that it sounds great everywhere that you can reach it? Which was like, I always had like 88 key range for everything. And sometimes it would be like, oh, that pad shouldn't be down there. You know?
No, there are certain sounds fit better in certain roles, for sure. It's
So one thing that I have also done over time, specifically in MainStage, is talking about like I'm almost always high passing everything, right? So I actually saved an EQ default preset that does that. So anytime I add an EQ plugin to a channel strip, it starts there. It just loads high passed. And then if I load it in there and it's like something is missing now, then I know like, okay, maybe that's too much high pass. But it's a pretty aggressive, like 150 hertz for me is like where it starts. Because then when I add that on, like if there's energy that I want, I'll know it's gone right away. And then I can instantly like, okay, the plugin's open, I just bring it back until I get the energy back that I want. But that's sort of reductive, like let's take out everything that could be a problem and then sweep this back until only what isn't a problem is still there. Because I was doing that on every patch ever that I was making by hand. And I have like, 6 channel strips in a patch, and I was adding the exact same EQ to all 6 manually. And one day I thought, oh, maybe I should just make this the default. So in MainStage you can set a default for any plugin, any instrument plugin, and audio effect and MIDI effect. So if there's stuff that you do over and over and over, like just make that the default, and then you can always undo it. That's something I like to do. Do you work in Logic when you're designing stuff, like a specific sound, or do you work in MainStage? Because I know some people like to like loop a phrase in Logic and then just tweak parameters. I do that sometimes, but I find myself liking the playability of moving around in MainStage and not being locked into a loop. It all starts to sort of sound the same to me if it's just looping over and over. I feel like my ear just gets worse and worse at noticing differences. So I like sometimes the being forced to like stop tweaking and play it and listen and then tweak it and then go back and like back and forth helps.
I stick around in MainStage most of the time. But I have seen people too that do like they'll do Logic, and that's probably a great approach too. But I do if anything, I just do it just because I'm in MainStage playing anyways, and that's just kind of where my sound design happens as well.
I think for Logic, when it's made sense for me is if I know I need like to fix a specific problem. Like if I'm trying to nail a part for a specific song and I know what that part is, I'll record that part and let that part go. And then I can really dive into like surgical EQ cuts or like the release is just off and I need to dial that in. Like the stuff that does need like my full attention, but I know it's just like something very specific. It can be nice to have your hands free.
That is true. That kind of brings another point. Is a lot of people, I did for the longest time, don't realize that you can play a sound in MainStage, and while you're holding out that sound, make the tweaks and hear it in real time.
Yeah.
Impacted, because when I started, I would make tweaks but not actually hear it in real time what I'm doing, and then I'd play it and then let go, and then I'd make another tweak and play it.
Yeah.
But now, so especially in like EQ, where you
just hold
it
pedal down.
hold it down and
right.
Sweep around. To me, that's a lot more
Super
easy.
key. But yeah, especially when filters or EQs are concerned.
Totally.
That's super key. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, man, this has been fun. Like, it's nice to just chill for a little while. It's been a busy day.
I'm glad.
A lot of video content. Any other like last sound design bits, or like something that you're aspiring towards next, even like.
Oh yeah. So one thing that I have found like that's really helpful lately is just going in and reading documentation on the different effects. So like I swear I know a plugin because I've used it for so long, and then I'll read like the documentation. So for instance, MainStage has a help documentation where they cover their plugins and their effects, and there's certain things I'll read it and I'll be like, oh, I didn't know that. And like it made, like for instance, I learned about how you can control the filter with the key parameter, which like you can your range and you don't have to EQ it, like your highs out and stuff like that.
Right.
So yeah, definitely read the documentation or check out YouTube videos. We have a lot of resources on our blog that go over just in depth on what the different controls and parameters do for your sound, because the more you understand what you're working with, the more that you can apply that into your actual sound design.
Yeah, that's nice. And I've often found that like your initial problem of I really want this pad sound, I really need it. That was like, it gave you a specific goal in mind.
Yeah.
When I started, I found like I made progress when I had a specific song I was trying to play, like it's something I needed to nail. If I would just like open MainStage or something and try and like create with like no goal, I would almost always like slam the MacBook lid down in frustration, like this is just garbage water. And I couldn't quantify like what was good, because I felt like I don't know what's good. I'm like trying to find what's good. So like figuring out like what you're trying to do, like what am I going to say that this is better than it was, is so important, whether you're like totally new to sound design or you've been doing it for a while and you're just trying to continue to improve. Try and like put some benchmarks in place for like tracking your growth, even if it's just like I really want it to have this sort of vibe. Like if it's a song that really speaks to you, like you really enjoy the way that the synth parts sound, or something like that, or a specific mood or atmosphere or energy, like try and make it measurable in some way, rather than just I'm gonna make a good pad, or like I'm gonna make my piano sound better. Like what does that mean? Because if you don't know, you will get frustrated, and that held me back for the longest time. Like I would get like pretty good song patches, but then if I needed to design something more general or like universal, I just felt like it just doesn't sound as intentional. It doesn't sound as big or as impressive as like the stuff where I had a specific like destination target. So trying to like quantify it and put some sort of guardrails or guidelines for yourself is like super important. Otherwise you're just gonna, no matter what, probably be harder on yourself than you need to be. And not feel like you're making progress. When honestly, like if you open plugins and you like turn knobs and you like think about it, you're gonna make progress. Like you know, it's and go back to presets, like we said, read the help docs, watch some videos, but try and measure it.
And like you said, like save your patches, organize yourself so that you can go back and look at those old patches that you made, and and you're going to go back to those old patches and you're going to see progress, which that feels good, because you won't notice it in the moment because it can be so incremental, but just make sure you can go back and check out your old work and you'll definitely see how far you've come.
And like another thing that can be really helpful if you feel like you're at a point to do so is to ask people that you know for some feedback. If you play at church, like ask one of the guitarists or ask the worship leader or one of the other keys volunteers, like, hey, I'm trying to make this better. Like, is it better? Or ask even like your front of house engineers, like if you can develop a relationship with them where you're like, hey, I really want this pad to be bright and aggressive. Does it sound bright and aggressive to you?
Yeah.
I think it does, but maybe my ear is just kind of, grown deaf to that specific thing because I worked on it for so long.
Yeah.
Trying to get some of that, or like you can go to like our Facebook group, and if you're like designing a sound, and you're not sure, and you want like, hey, I feel like this is a little muddy. Like, what do you guys have any suggestions on how I can make it feel a little less muddy, or I need it to be shimmery, or what do you guys like to do with piano? Like, we have some great community where people can ask those kinds of questions and like share stuff as they create it.
Yeah.
So.
And another, just a quick tip, if you have Sunday keys, the MainStage, our template, we have different modifier buttons that have, and different knobs where we've already mapped different effects.
Mm-hmm.
So if you like adding shimmer and you want to know how do I add shimmer, you can look at the mappings on that knob and see what did we do to make the shimmer effect happen, or the reverb happen, or
right. And especially in version 2 of Sunday Keys, we've, I think, covered such a broad spectrum of sounds, and not just types of sounds, but like spaces or depths of sounds, where like we've got some really like nice low end stuff, some really nice mid range, some really nice high end, and like stuff that is like really full range, broadly applicable. And so you can really get, I think, a good picture of some great starting points for EQ, some starting points for like synth waveforms and effects and filters, just by going through that. I mean, we've got like several hundred individual presets
it's a good amount.
in version 2 of the MainStage Sunday Keys now, so it is a pretty good place.
Yeah.
I mean, not to pat ourselves on the back, but like there's some cool stuff in there, guys, and you can spend a lot of time pulling some stuff out of there, and then also like, don't feel like you can't touch the work we've done. Like, if you find something that's cool, but it's not quite what you're looking for, like just copy paste that patch and then open the channel strips yourself and see what we did and try some different stuff. Like nobody's going to be offended if your sound ends up sounding more like you want it to.
Exactly.
If you can't make it your own, what's the point, right? So we just want to help you guys express yourselves more fully and realize the sounds you've been hearing in your head. Whether that's through using our presets, whether that's through stock presets, whether that's through stuff you built from a sine wave. We want to help you guys out, sound amazing and save time and have fun doing it. So, well, Ryan, thanks for hanging out on the couch.
Definitely.
I've been in here in Boise with the whole team for a couple days, and it's been super fun. So we've got other video content that we've worked on over these couple days too. So depending on when you're seeing this video, it may or may not be out, so we'll put links in the description to that video content as it comes out, or if it's already out, then you can check the description, and then we'll put Sunday Keys from MainStage down in there too, because it's pretty okay.
It's pretty awesome.
It's pretty okay. All right, guys, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching.
See ya.